Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Yeah, this is very exciting times for me personally, but I think for the whole community. We can see it in the engagements. The Discords are active. The YouTube comments have exploded here. I mean, I didn't get much views on these Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour videos for the last couple of months. I just started doing these in September last year, but yeah, the efforts to fix generals in this scale, I would say, have started 8 years ago when Omniblade and Thompson's originally opened Thyme, right? So Omniblade, yeah, here they created Thyme. I don't know if you can see the date, but yeah, it was early 2017 that they created. So, in my opinion, Omniblade opened like opened the timeline for fixing with Thyme. That was the first time that like a greater goal was envisioned. Yeah, and 3 years ago, I think September 2021, we started the super patch effort. Let's see. That is this one here. So that's three years. Yeah. And yeah, the great thing is Thyme is practically done, so to say, right? And we have the source code, so we can now actually continue and really do what we have always envisioned. Yeah, it's fantastic. And the good news is Omniblade has also already managed to put in the stubs for Miles and Bink, because these are, I think, proprietary libraries. He has put in stubs, so basically they just use the original DLL that's already in the game directory. I think it's MS DLL, and I don't know what the Bink is, similarly. And yeah, it would just load that. So it will work for 32-bit then, like that. But yeah, for 64-bit, these need to be replaced. Yeah. Where did Omniblade posted somewhere? Yeah. Anyway, so also some other guys got it to compile and build based on Omniblades or based on their own progress. So yeah, many people have a go right now to make it compile. I have not given it a shot yet. I think I will wait until Omniblade has all his stuff figured out and the CMake setup. So basically here where is it? Here, Omniblade. He created CMake lists, txt. He got the Thyme project in there. Okay, he just copied it from Thyme. Yeah, he did it for Thyme NG, I think, where we wanted to binary matching repository. Yeah, so he used that. He put the dependencies here. Bing stub, Miles stub, and STL port. I suspect he put it here so that both games can use it, which makes sense. Right, there's no need to put it into the libraries here. Huh. Curious why this one looks different. Ah, here they have a different structure. Okay. Well, that's unholy. Yeah. Yeah, but I like this, having the dependencies outside. I think that's nice. Yeah. Okay. I think I've also seen someone else has made a post somewhere. I don't know where. As someone had already some build instructions put on their README on that with what they have put together. But yeah, for now I would just wait until Omniblade progresses, because he's really good with his build setup stuffs and yeah, getting these things to work. Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but yeah, he's very good at this. Good. So I think I'm a bit on a PR tour, maybe. I mean, for me right now, it's like a lot of reading what the community people write, and yeah, just enjoying the engagement. Really, it's really unusual. Like the last years, for me, well, I mean, it was typically quiet. There were some peaks where people were interested in developments, but now is very particular time with this release. I expect that it will maybe level off a bit in the next weeks when the initial hype goes a bit down. But yeah, it's remarkable how everyone is so excited, but it makes sense, yeah. On, I think tomorrow, Legionnaire has planned at 15 GMT Sunday, like some developer conference, so to say, developer meetup to talk about things. I'm interested in that, see where this is going. And Dominator also wants to do a podcast on Sunday as well to talk about things. I'm happy to do that as well. I think it's always good to talk to, like, get everyone on board and get a good understanding of what is there, where do we want to go, what can we do, what should we strive for. Yeah, I mean, the obviously the overarching goal is to make 0 Hour the best game, right? If we can do that, I'm convinced that we can make it an absolutely outstanding experience. I'm convinced it is possible, and especially with more developers, I think it will be outstanding. Yeah. Historically, it was always thin on developers, but still things got done eventually. But yeah, the scale, I'm not sure if most people realize the scale of damage that the 0 Hour has. There's just so much wrong and so much bugged. I see myself fixing it for a very long time. I, my, I mean, I can't really put an expectation on timeline. It really depends on, like, okay, how many people will actually contribute now. But I think it will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That 1 to 5 years is, yeah. I think in 5 years there could be really major development. Short term, 1 year is not a long time. It flies really fast. I mean, if you have a big team, let's say you have 50 programmers, then of course a lot of stuff can get done. But yeah, typically these things accelerate over the years. Like, people get also faster. Like, things might be slow in the beginning. Like, maybe you see like 1 to 5 months, 6 months, like not much progress going on. But when developers get more comfortable with the code base they work on, they also get more efficient over time. The testing routines become more efficient, and they understand the code better, and they iterate on things they already have touched here and there. And so this really is, it's only going to accelerate over time. I know it from myself, like when I started working on some things, I started really slow, but then when these things build up, then you get, you make more and more progress, right? Okay, I thought for this session, let's see. I still need to transfer the rest of the issue reports from Thyme to the new repository. Then we will wait for Omniblade to get his CMake set up. Nice. We need to add some documentation to our repository already. I mean, I don't have answers for all setup questions. There are some things I do want to push for, but some other things like yeah, the initial setup rules, like it's not clear to me. I hope that Omniblade can figure out a lot of things, and that I don't have to worry about this. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. I thought for this session, I heard that apparently Dominator has made a video about patch. So maybe we listen to it and make a reaction video. What is his account name? Let's go to YouTube and type in Dominator 0 hour. Aha, let's see. Let's see his video. Oh, it's only a short one. Only a short video. I thought that would be a longer one. Let's see. We need to, hold on. We need to unmute. We need to mute the music, the ambient music, and we need to unmute this one. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if that will be working. Let's see. No, it's muted.
History. It seems that totally out of the blue and without any pre-warning, Electronic Arts not only released a new official patch for Generals 0 Hour, yeah, you heard that correct, which is patch 1.05, but they also released some old archival footage from the early engine development of the Sage engine, and they also enabled Steam Workshop support for 5 CNC games, including 0 Hour. But then we have the biggest thing of all. They only went and released the source code for Generals 0 Hour, plus 3 other CNC games. So CNC Tiberian Dawn, CNC Red Alert, and CNC Renegade. So you can find more information about this over on Reddit with a post from Jim. Basically, the main man who drove this forward, and who we owe a huge thanks to, is a guy who goes by the name of CC Hyper, otherwise known as Luke Feenan. So CC Hyper is a British guy who was contracted by EA over the past 12 months to officially research improvements to many of the CNC Ultimate Collection games. He's worked with EA since as far back as 2019, but this last year has fully focused on this current update. So he had full access to the CNC archive at EA, and after a lot of hard work from many people in the company, including months of engineering work and with more than 50 people involved in getting this over the line, he has ultimately delivered as a patch, and most importantly, the source code for the game, which we're going to explain what that means for it.
Oh, I'm surprised that 50 people worked on this. 50 people worked on the Steam workshop? Huh. And then I actually didn't read the community post. Maybe actually that's a good idea. Let's bring that up. What was the title of it? Let's go back real quick here. CNC Steam Workshop support and source codes. CNC Workshop and what was it? Steam Workshop support. Steam Workshop support. Reddit. Well, there's also a post on EA.com. Reddit. Well, let's see what EA.com says. Oh, this is probably the same post. Let's look at this one. Let's make it a bit larger. I hope the past year has treated you well. And it's great to reconnect once again. As you may remember, about a year ago we launched a CNC Ultimate Collection on Steam. This was a positive step towards maintaining the legacy of Command & Conquer, but we always had the ambition to deliver even more CNC franchise improvements to all of you in the community. We shortly after launch in 2024 commissioned Luke CC Hyper, a veteran of CNC community, was part of the community council, and was involved in bringing Ultimate Collection to Steam to officially research improvements to many of the games in our Ultimate Collection with full access to the CNC archive at EA. Luke proposed a couple ambitious ideas on behalf of the community, and over the past year he has devoted himself to deliver upon these initiatives. These items have required dedicated persistence and extended collaboration with our teams at EA, support from leadership, plus months of engineering work and deep engagement with key CNC community leaders. Today we are excited to say that effort has paid off and the CNC franchise is getting even better as a result. I'm eager to invite Luke to provide the details in his own words. For those of you awesome CNC fans who I have not crossed paths with before, my name is Luke, aka CC Hyper. I'm a 20 plus year veteran of CNC community, longtime modder, admin of CNC Net. Very fortunate to have been involved in the development of CNC Remaster under mentorship of Jim Vasella. I've worked alongside amazing CNC stakeholders here at EA, restored the Perfor source code archives for the CNC games back to buildable states, which now provides us with the ability to patch these classic games in a deeper way going forward. As a long-time modder, it was amazing to finally get a chance to deep dive into the source code for these games and see how they work. Today I've been given the pleasure to share two major announcements for the CNC franchise with you. Empowering the future of the community, which is for me the biggest point of all. For those of you in the community who know me, you will be familiar with my strong advocacy for video game preservation and my support for the video game open source community. It's almost 5 years ago now that EA released the source code for the CNC Remaster Collection DLL files. This release received praise across the video games industry and has enabled the community to create amazing content for the Remaster Collection. In reaction to the restoration process of the CNC archives, I wanted to take this one step further. So I'm proud to announce that we are releasing a fully recovered source code for Command Conquer, aka Tiberian Dawn, CNC Red Alert under the GPL license. I know this will empower those in the community who contribute to create content for these classic entries in the franchise, and I hope it will aid communities like CNC Net to continue to support these games and keep them playable for future generations to come. But let's not stop there. The community over W3D Hub have been doing amazing things with the CNC Renegade engine for almost 20 years now, and the projects have been pushing the absolute limits of the game to support them and taking the game to their awesome projects to the next level. We are also releasing the complete source code for CNC Renegade under the GPL license. All of us here are all really excited to see what's next in store for the community over at W3D Hub and what they will be able to do with this release. And finally, and now that's of course for us the most important, finally an appreciation of the CNC Generals community who have kept the game alive with their consistent energy and passion, hosting multiplayer tournaments and producing amazing content. I'm extremely happy to share that we are releasing the full source code under GPL for CNC Generals and its expansion pack 0 Hour. I know the Generals 0 Hour community is going to do amazing things with this source code release, and I'm excited to see what the team over at CNC Online does next with a multiplayer experience for these games. Yeah, I cannot agree enough with this. We have kept the game alive with our energy and passion, hosting multiplayer tournaments, producing amazing content. Absolutely. I think there's absolutely a lot of stuff going on every year, especially in 0 Hour. In Generals, not so much, honestly speaking. Generals is on a lifeline support. That's the truth. I mean, there's some activity here and there, but it's pale in comparison to 0 Hour. But 0 Hour really shines with its engagement, and you see it in the tournaments and even LAN events, in Europe. So it's really amazing, and I think also in Dubai, the Middle East, you can find the source code on the Electronic Arts GitHub page, Steam Workshop support. But now on to our second announcement. We are enabling the Steam Workshop support for more CNC titles to allow users to upload their custom maps. We know this has been an ask for the community for a very long time, so we are pleased to finally give all your map creators an official and permanent home to the Steam Workshop for your content. Yeah, that's nice. You can push your maps there. It's like your official repository. Now Steam Workshop support has gone live for Renegade, General 0 Hour, Tiberian Wars, Kane's Res, Red Alert 3, Uprising, Tiberian Twilight. We also updated all the mission editor and world builder tools so you can publish maps directly to the Steam Workshop. When you subscribe to an item on the Steam Workshop via the client web page, the games will now pull the content down when you next launch the game and the maps will be displayed in the single player and multiplayer map selection menus. We're all looking forward to seeing what fun and crazy maps you upload. Probably a bunch of retarded maps. And on top of this, to support the Steam Workshop, we are releasing the CNC modding support pack, which contains a source XML schema script shader and map files for all the games that use the Sage engine. This has been another wish from the community for almost 15 years now, so we're excited to finally make this happen, and we hope this helps you all continuing to make amazing content and mods for the years to come. You can find the support pack on the Electronic Arts GitHub page. I would like to take a moment to thank all the community playtesters who have supported us throughout this journey and their invaluable feedback and encouragement, and also big thanks to you, to everyone who has reported bugs and issues for the CNC games on Reddit and Steam, and of course to the whole CNC community for supporting these games for over 25 years. I would like to thank the many people at EA working at various studios and departments across the globe who have helped make this happen, who are just too many to name. Okay, so there was like a combined effort. That's interesting. The support for this project and the CNC franchise was really motivating during a final push to launch, and also I want to thank the amazing team at EA Partners for providing me with the freedom to execute this project and the resources to help make it happen. Additionally, a shout out to all of those who have supported me throughout this journey and who are not at EA or associated with the EA franchise. You're awesome and you know who you all are. But lastly, I would like to take a personal moment to thank my two biggest supporters here at EA and throughout this journey: technical director Brian Barnes, who gave me the respect and autonomy to develop this project in the technical direction I felt was best for the core community, and Jim Vasella for pulling all the pieces in place. So these are like a leadership, right, for the CNC franchise, and continuing to share his experience, knowledge, and insight with me. Thank you for the both of you and always looking out for me. So that was a statement from Luke. And thanks, Luke. Our teams at EA couldn't be more excited about these initiatives. With the release of the source code under the GPL, Command & Conquer continues its legacy of being an industry-leading franchise in the effort to empower gaming communities. And with the Steam Workshop now supporting user maps across more CNC titles, modders can easily share their content, their creations with more CNC fans around the world. I have to agree with this. It is nothing. Releasing a source code for a commercial game is nothing short of amazing, and you cannot take this for granted. There are other game companies who will take you to court if you try to do anything with their games. Yeah, you release an add-on and lawsuit. Yeah, so I think the freedom that EA gives to its modding community, I think, is very outstanding, and I have the highest respect for EA leadership in this regard. It's amazing. Yeah. As with our previous modding initiatives, our user-generated content for CNC titles fall under the Command & Conquer franchise modding guidelines, which have been updated to reflect this initiative. They have been updated. Okay, I wonder if I need to update any of the text in our projects. Please be sure to learn and follow within these guidelines and be respectful to your fellow community members. Maybe we can also take a look at this. This is especially important for content which has been created previously over the years. It's vital for the health of the community that the original authors have the ability to control how, if the content is distributed on the Steam Workshop. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah. I mean, I already touched on this in the previous video, because it was also mentioned in the announcement note there by this one user. I think there's great value if more developers and modders push for open sourcing their works the same way that EA does, because that allows true collaboration and building on top of each other's works to really create masterpieces. Like, I mean, the thing is, if things are closed source, then it's like someone owns it and that's it, right? But if everything is open sourced and everything can build on these things, then yeah, it's the best way to just like improve everything to excellence. Like I think like I know it from myself. If I work on something, I know that the first iteration of my work won't be the perfect solution, right? So there's always a chance that someone else picks up my pieces and improves them and makes them better, right? And I think this must be the goal, that most of the things that we do are just open source, and we always build on top of the best, and this is how we will reach excellence. If all the content we do is just there up for grabs, and people will find ways to make it even better or make it worse, maybe in some cases. I mean, that's possible. If someone touches the source code and introduces a lot of crashes, well, then that will be worse for the users. But yeah, there's nothing that you can't, no error that you cannot undo, right? Especially now. So I think that's really nice. While we've been able to test these new items with a few select community members prior to release, it's always difficult to predict how these tools will react at scale with the entire community. We are always listening, so please share your experience and feedback with us. We appreciate your patience as we work to improve the CNC franchise experience. Additionally, as one more tweet, to celebrate the release of the source code, we were recently able to discover, digitize some rare gameplay footage from the early development of CNC Renegade and CNC Generals. We wanted to share that compilation with the community here. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that yet. Let's see. Violence. Oh, it's 34 minutes. Okay, maybe that's a bit too long for this session. Maybe we can do it, look at it in another session. We imagine your CNC historians will enjoy checking out the content. Huge thanks again to Luke, our community playtester, and everyone who supported these efforts. We will see you on the battlefield. Signed, Jim Basella, aka Jim Turn. Modding guidelines. There's a second revision. They marked it there. Yeah. Maybe go quickly over it so you understand. And also, like this open sourceness, I mean, I think it's also great that people need realize that it's great to give everyone the same freedom of our works that we expect EA to give us, right? So like if everyone, including EA, had this mindset of, no, we own this thing and you cannot build on top of our creation, then there wouldn't be any public source code. There wouldn't be any permissions to allow us to build on top of their assets, right? And make mods and stuff, right? Then they could try to come after us with lawsuits, right? I think it really it's logical that we follow the same principles that that EA does, right? And that we make everything available. I mean, not everything has to be open source, right? I mean, there are things that can be closed sourced, right? But yeah, I mean, mods are typically art files and stuff like this, and ini files and text files and this kind of things. But yeah, so for example, Gentool is closed source, right? So someone may say, hey, why is this not open source? Yeah, I mean, it has been closed source since the very beginning. And I think that was for the better, ultimately. I mean, I was there most of the time to fix up things and to make small improvements. And I think it has been running stable. So functionality-wise, I think it was perfectly fine for the community needs. And I think the problem with open sourcing Gentool would have been that some of its features would have become ineffective. Like the anti-cheat idea of it would have become ineffective, and also it would have been very easy to build map hacks with it. So I wasn't keen on doing that, because at the end it was for the players, for the multiplayer players, Gentool mostly, because I was a multiplayer, or I am multiplayer player myself. in regards to 0 hour. And it was for them to have a tool that unlocks a few things and gives like the anti-cheats, some anti-cheat efforts. And I think for this, the closed sourceness makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But yeah, so there can be examples of closed source, but generally, like mods, and now here with the game code, like all this open source, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So not for commercial profit. Yeah, they say that you cannot sell it, but you can ask for donations. Oh, in addition, your mods must not be used to solicit donations, except as follows. Okay, not be used to solicit donations. Yeah, okay, so I see. EA recognizes that the time and resources needed to create mods can sometimes be substantial. Accordingly, mod developers are allowed to fund their development costs through donations, subject to the following restrictions. Requests for donations must be limited to the mod website or distribution site and not appear within the mod gameplay itself. I think that's a reasonable request, yeah. Donors may not be provided with any in-game special advantages, such as private access to a mod, special levels, graphical markers, special text abilities, units, maps, etc. That is, all users must be able to play the same mods without having to pay extra to do so. Yeah, this is also reasonable, because if you put something behind a paywall, then it's not a donation anymore. Then it's, you need to pay to access that kind of thing. It's not a donation. Donors that are corporations, limited liability companies, partnerships, etc., cannot be listed in the credit section of a mod. Only individuals may be listed. Yeah. So basically, yeah. Just free agents can be listed. Yeah, which we all are essentially, all the community members. Respect the rights of others. Your mods must not infringe any copyright, trademark, patent, trade secret, or any other intellectual property right of any third party, and will not include content that is unlawful, tortious, defamatory, obscene, invasive of the privacy of other persons, threatening, harassing, abusive, hateful, racist, or otherwise objectionable or inappropriate. EA requires that mods not include any material that would not be allowed under the age rating for any applicable CNC games. Yeah, so don't put any nudes in there. Yeah, I think that's a good start. Okay. No EA affiliation. You must include the following statement prominently at the top of your website and at least one level root license file in any source code repository for a project. A README file or equivalent. EA has not endorsed and does not support this product. Do not promote your mod in a way that suggests that it's endorsed or approved by or affiliated with EA in any manner, or that it is an official product or service of EA. Do not use EA artwork, logos, or trademarks, including game logo treatments, the names Electronic Arts, EA, or Command & Conquer, or the logos or names to promote your mod. However, you may use plain text to state that your mod is for Command & Conquer and or for a specific CNC game or expansion pack in the franchise, e.g. Command & Conquer, Tiberian Dawn, Red Alert, Renegade, and so on. Yeah, this is a bit unfortunate, this one. I mean, I understand that you should not use EA logos and stuff like this, but I mean, plain text. The thing is that there is you recognize the logos of the respective games. So if we would be able to say, hey, mod name for, and then the general's logo, I think that is not, that would be nice. So I think this one is a bit too strict, but I can see why they want to do it, because they wouldn't want that that a mod is being confused as a original product, right? They wouldn't want that a mod is taking like the ownership of this franchise or this product. Yeah. So it makes sense, but yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, I would say. Safety and integrity. Your mods must not jeopardize the integrity of the gameplay or harm the experience of others, and must not interfere with or disrupt any of the EA services, like DDoS maybe, servers or networks, such as by introducing malware or by circumventing any of the EA's content protection measures for its services. To maintain the integrity of CNC and ensure the best possible gaming experience for our players, EA reserves the right in its sole discretion to revoke permission to use, distribute, or make mods at any time, to disable any mods, and to take disciplinary action against players who take part in any of these activities. Players. Should say developers, I think. Intellectual property ownership. License from EA, CNC assets, including game code, art, music, and all other content are and shall remain the sole and exclusive property of EA. To the extent any CNC assets are used in mods, EA grants the mod creator a revocable, limited, non-exclusive, non-commercial license to use a CNC asset solely in connection with and as part of the mod and subject to the terms of this policy. Your mod must not include any music files from the CNC games. Yeah, and then there's some other rules here and blah blah. Okay, but this to me looks like the text that was already there. They added this one here. Where can I find community made mods? Okay, so they didn't yeah, I remember this looks really like what it was before, so it looks like to me they didn't touch this, but they added this section. That's new. Where can modders access code, source code? Okay, there are the links. Steam Workshop, modding support, remastered collection. How do I use community made content? Okay, that's more complicated apparently. How do I use mods on Steam? Okay. Yeah, we don't need to go through that. Yeah, is there any Command Conquer related things? No, it's all, looks like it's all general to all games. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we got that. How about we go back to Dominator's
this over
videos?
on Reddit with a post from Jim. Basically, the main man who drove this forward and who we owe a huge thanks to is a guy who goes by the name of CC Hyper, otherwise known as Luke Feenan. So CC Hyper is a British guy who was contracted by EA over the past 12 months to officially research improvements to many of the CNC Ultimate Collection games. He's worked with EA since as far back as 2019, but this last year has fully focused on this current update. So he had full access to the CNC archive at EA. And after a lot of hard work from many people in the company, including months of engineering work and with more than 50 people involved in getting this over the line, he has ultimately delivered as a patch. And most importantly, the source code for the game, which we're going to explain what that means for us later. Last night, CC Hyper joined a Discord voice chat and he was answering questions from the community for over 5 hours, which I had the pleasure to listen to 99% of. During this chat, we learned loads of cool stuff regarding different Command & Conquers, how the project came to be, and we discussed what this could mean for the future of Command & Conquer Generals Zero Hour. Of course, it went on for over 5 hours, so I'm not going to list absolutely everything that was discussed, but I am going to mention some key points and break down in simple terms what I think it can mean for General Zero Hour in the future. So firstly, let's cover the most important and crazy thing, which is the release of the source code to the public. So you can find this over on GitHub. It's all there. People have been delving into it already and finding all kinds of funny notes, but the link to it is in the description. So for those of you that are wondering what source code even is or what it can mean for us, it's basically the underlying set of instructions written in a programming language, which in this case is C++, if you know anything about programming, that tells the computer to how to run and function every aspect of a video game. So it's like a blueprint for the game's mechanics, graphics, gameplay elements, the raw code that developers use to create a game, and which is the place that you can modify and further develop a game. So in terms of what that might mean for us exactly in the future, firstly, you need to think about the big annoying stuff that we currently face in the game. So for example, fixing mismatches, fixing serious errors, crashes when there's too many units on the map, fixing glitches, the AI waypointing around mountains and around water that leads to crazy lag when you've got 7 AIs in the same game as you, fixing the connection issues, fixing pings, fixing the weird bugs like the China supply trucks messing up when you get mines on your building and they do all kinds of crazy paths, and fixing bugged out terrorists where they just kind of freeze, or you can also fix the giant flying unstoppable scud storms. So despite not being a programmer myself, these are the...
What was that? I've never seen that. Let's go back to that. What the hell is that? Maybe make it full screen so you can see it better.
They just kind of freeze, or you can also fix the giant
What is this? Where's this coming from? I've never seen this before.
flying.
Oh wow, man, the bugs never end. Yeah, I've never seen this. Wow, that's. Is this an exploit or is this a legitimate bug? That's well, I mean, it must be an exploit. Yeah, so that's remarkable. The shadow is huge. Oh my, oh my. Yeah, the game never ceases to amaze. I mean, it is funny, but it's also sad at the same time. Like I mean, this is 0 hour in a nutshell. You can screenshot it, clip it. This is 0 hour in one picture. Yeah, just a buggy mess. Yeah, beautiful, but enjoyable. Very nice.
Unstoppable scud storms. So despite not being a programmer myself, these are the type of things that I understand that could eventually be fixed with the release of this source code, which is why it's so important. My belief, firstly, is that the community of developers such as Zazon, who I know will be looking through the source code even right now, should try to get the game in a good state. So think of all those bugs and all those problems that I just listed. So once you've done that, you could then look at other things such as new features. You could have things like in the lobby before you start a match, you could tick a box that implements pro rules for everyone rather than having to type it out like crazy.
Yep, this is certainly something that would be on the map, like no rush feature, for example, things like this. And a step further, let me bring that up. Let me bring that up. So I think I already touched it in a previous video, but I think it's very important. And QEL has added a mock-up image. So let's take a look at that. Is it in game code? Yeah, it's in game code. So I moved the issues here. Let's search for, what is it? Version. Implement no rush feature. I made a task for that. This one. Let's go through it. I think this is quite an important thing. So it says currently players in network room cannot see whether or not other players are match compatible, right? If not all clients are compatible, then runtime mismatch can occur. We need a feature to block game from starting when at least one peer client is not compatible with host client. Perhaps incompatible peers should be unable to join game rooms. No, that's most reasonable. On the other hand, perhaps it's okay if all players can join any game room and just show incompatible icon hash version next to player name. This way, players can still chat and communicate organizational matters at their own discretion. Originally, incompatible players are blocked from match entry in the games by lobby, but not in network lobby. So basically the idea here is that there is something to say about letting every player join any room, if the host says it is okay, because then like if someone is mismatching, they can at least join and then chat or something, right? So and yeah, organize whatever. Technically, game needs to generate game hash from all relevant files, code and data. Game hash is expected to be identical across all clients using the same kind of game version install. Caution, different executable for different operating system. Yeah, this but probably can be figured out. Using a different mod or critically modified ini W3D will change hash. Hash can then be compared with peers. Hash itself is not easily human readable. Generally, single hash can only be associated with local game version. To recognize peer hashes as game version names, we need database of hash to names relations. This perhaps needs patch loader support, where patch loader has never been started yet. Patch loader can provide list of known mods to game process time, and game client can then recognize different remote hashes with that list, or game client sends sufficient metadata alongside client hash, and patch loader integration is not required. Yeah, basically, I think I touch on this on the next portions. I wrote a bunch more things, but I all crossed that, so it seems to be no longer relevant. Thinking this further, it would be good if player did not just have control to select game version in external program, but also within the game client itself. If there was a match room for an alien mod, then ideally client would hot switch to that without first manually restarting the game client. The advantage of that would be that players can freely join different game versions within the same multiplayer lobby without worrying about compatibility problems. The complication is implementation. Reloading all game data should technically be possible. However, there can be significant complications in regards to active game data, such as menus and shell map. Plus, it would not work for mods using custom executables. Well, yeah, custom executables would require a restart of the game process. Yeah, perhaps a full game client restart is inevitable. Yeah, in that case, a way to fast forward the player through the lobbies into the designated match room would be good. We could deploy different implementation strategies depending on states. Yeah, so maybe there could be a state where it can hot reload within the process, running process, and then another where it does like a restart and then a self restart. Like it restarts and then it goes directly into the right room, right? It could be something like this. If game menu does not run shell map, then there would be only the menu left to worry about. And if mod does not have a mismatching executable, then client restart would not be strictly necessary. And yeah, QEL yesterday he like put like a draft like for what it could look like in theory, like so that you select your version here and like rules here, right? So yeah, I think that's let's make it a bit larger. Well, that's not so much larger, but yeah, something like this. I mean, it's just a mock-up. How things can be designed, yeah, it's up for debate, I guess. But I think the technical requirements for this are pretty big. So this is a big feature. I think it's very necessary, and I think it would be one of the most important features actually. And I expect that all mods that want to be compatible across all sorts of players, they will need to integrate that into their executables. There's no way around it. I think that is the path to go. I guess there will be more discussions about it. I mean, right now there's no discussion. There's a thumbs up by Dev Genius Code. Yeah, discussions are pretty like this. I wish people would like discuss more in our issue reports because there is a wealth of information in our reports, but really not so much discussions anymore. There was a good time when there were some discussions on like especially controversial changes. There were some where there were a lot of discussions, but that died down over the last 1-2 years. Yeah, I mean, naturally, the excitement for longer running project dies a bit off when there is nothing like to actually use. Right? We haven't made any public releases for Super Patch yet. Because personally, I don't want to deal with this right now because it's heavily work in progress. If someone else wants to organize test sessions, then they can always do it. It can be built and used at all times. It's always stable, as far as I know. But yeah, for me currently, I just want to focus on development, and yeah, I think more discussions here in these reports would be very nice. Yeah. Yeah, this is a big feature, but I think if we do it right, it will be really amazing. Basically, I would like for all players to be on one server. So, I mean, there can be still the network lobby, right? But I would hope that we aim more for the online lobby and have most players sit there, and so that the LAN lobby is more something that is used for tournaments where people want to have like a really private Redman room and don't want to use the online lobby. But I would say for the general player population, it's probably better if we all focus on one backend, one server, together all together, and that then across all all mods, all game versions, everything, every different kind of patch, every different kind of mod, everything together. But every player will easily be able to access all the different versions that are there, right? Just like maps, right? Right now, if you don't own a map, the game will transfer the map on match start, right? So, and we need something like this for joining match rooms that you do not have the version of currently, so that the game downloads the content for you and then hot reloads or restarts the game for you, so that you then can join this game without too much hassle or without any hassle, right? Right now, it's a huge hassle to install mods because every mod has their own installer or method of installing, and then you need to run it in isolation. Maybe you break your regular installation because you copy the files over, and then a newbie doesn't know how to organize this properly. Like, there are a lot of people who are not tech savvy, and they will mess this stuff up. And like, having an easy way to access all content within the game, I think would be outstanding. And I think, I mean, it can also be external. I always envision that we want to have like an external tool to manage all sorts of user-generated content for the creators and also for the users, so that the creators can push their own content in there, and that users can access that content by receiving like a definition file that describes the content, and that will have all the data necessary to then pull and download, and the tool will take care of installing and launching and managing the user-generated content for 0 hour. I think it is possible, and I think it will enrich the game massively once we have this ecosystem, and which is now fully possible. Because right now, I mean, there's Gen Patcher, right, which takes care of like fixing the game and the original game, and providing some downloadable content, but it's very confined, and there's only one person that can manage its contents, right? So we need something that liberates everyone to push their content, similar to the Steam Workshop. I mean, the Steam Workshop is nice, but it has this dependency on Steam account, and Steam install. I don't know. So I would say there is big value in having our own tool for generals in 0 hour, where we have the freedom to author any content, executables, or any mods, any add-ons, any maps, map packs, whatever. Well, maybe not cheats, but yeah, I mean, if you give the power to the users to generate the content, and everything is open source, then I think this will be the best way to actually distribute any game content. And I think this will be the real future. And then also this will then crystallize where players will flock to, like what content they want to consume. Like, do they want to play balance patch 1 or balance patch 2, and so on, right? And I think that's the way. I guess I will talk about the exact same thing in the sessions tomorrow, what I'm touching on right now, because it's a fundamental design that we need to solve. I think it is possible. Technically, nothing can stop us now, especially since we have the source code, so it's all there at our feet. But yeah, it will be a lot of work to implement this all, and to also implement it that it works correctly with the game. I would think a first milestone where we just restart the game client to reload everything. That's probably the easiest method, right? And then the next milestone probably would be to like fast pass the player into the lobby that he was previously in before the restart. That is maybe possible. Well, it is definitely possible, but maybe easily possible. Maybe it's a bit harder. But the hardest definitely will be hot reloads. Hot reloads on runtime, especially when the shell map is running. Because when the shell map is running, it is already using the content that is loaded in, right? The map, all the any definition files, the models, the textures, and so on is all loaded in. And basically what would need to happen if you then hot reload into another mod on runtime, if the executable was not different between these two, you basically would need to sideload the mod into like a new channel where you say, okay, the next map I loads with this game content. And then when the shell map unloads, which will happen when it unloads a new level, would have to unload all the previous game version content that was loaded in, right? So all the models, all the sounds, everything that was referenced by the shell map would need to be unloaded. And I think this will be an outrageous effort. This will probably be really hard, and I see this as a really long-term goal, probably very hard to do. I expect this could be major frustration. But I think there will be easy ways to do this, which is a restart game and then have a process that restarts the game and then pushes the game into lobby fast, and that probably is good enough. And if players have disabled the EA logo and the intro, it's probably and the shell map, then it probably loads really fast in a couple seconds and you're back, right? So it should probably be good enough for most users who do not have a wooden PC. Okay, let's continue here with Dominator's video.
And then people breaking the rules. You could look at things like enhanced graphics. You could look at changing it from peer-to-peer connection, so joining a server instead, whether that would be possible. Creating new game servers. You could look at having a quick match function, having a ladder function, having matches with more than 8 players. I mean, can you imagine a world where we have 20 players and the latency is at 10 or even lower? I'm hearing the latency might be even possible to have at 1, bearing in mind that the current state of the game is minimum 10.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this. Latency, yeah, I think there's technically nothing that I haven't looked into the code yet, but I think there's just a hard-coded value somewhere, and you can probably just lower it. I think the design decision for this minimum latency was to have less fluctuations on the lower end, less jumps, so that you have more consistency. I think that is the design reason for this 10 latency value. Does it have to be this high? I don't think so. Especially, I'm actually not sure. I was under the impression that when you run PS a local area network, so where everyone is connected through not a VPN, but like a really local area network. I was under the impression that the latency is 0 then, but I'm not 100% sure. I could be mistaken, because I do remember, I think I remember that whenever I was at a LAN party and we were connected in a local area network, that there was no latency, but I could be mistaken. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, we have the freedom to lower it. I'm pretty sure. What else did he say? He said, let me see again.
Game servers. You could look at having a quick match function, having a ladder function, having matches with more than 8 players. I mean, can you imagine a world?
Yeah, more than 8 players. I think that's a bit more. I haven't seen the code yet, but my expectation is that this would be a bit hard to do, because there are probably many places that expect 8 players in code and in data, right? So bumping this up, I mean, all the UI needs to be adjusted for this, but also a lot of, I guess, a lot of logic in game and in engine. Like, do we have, and also in maps, like, do we have 10 spawn points to begin with? Like, is this actually possible to place 10 at all right now? Right, so there's probably a lot of dependencies on this, but it's probably possible. Whether or not it will be performant would probably depend on the ping. But it also means, like, the more players you have, the more stuff is going on in the world, right? So automatically there will be more of a performance impact as a scale. So it's also important to then, like, lower the performance requirements, lower the cost, lower the cost of the game to run, right? Make it faster, so to compensate for more players. But yeah, it's probably possible. But personally, I don't see it as a short or mid-term goal. It's probably more some long-term goal, maybe. Yeah. Good. Let's see.
So I know that eventually the hot topic of balance will come up. I think it already has, actually. And I do think this should be prioritized for now. Given that there's so many bugs and issues to fix inside of the game, I think they should be prioritized. And it's also got to be taken into account that fixing the bugs, the glitches, all the issues like that does slightly impact the balance anyway. So I think the game needs to be got into a good position first before you start looking at balance. But when the topic of balance does ultimately come up, my suggestion would be to gather a council of probably something like the top 15 players inside of the game and discuss in detail each change and ultimately get them signed off and in agreement with most of the other people in that council. It's extremely important that everybody involved remembers that due to the 12 different armies inside of the game, it's a bit like a Rubik's Cube. When you're just changing one part of the Rubik's Cube, you're actually changing multiple other parts of the Rubik's Cube possibly as well. So it has to be taken into account that because there's so many armies, just changing one small part of one faction can change multiple matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a most controversial topic that in the past has created the most heated debates. I'm under the opinion that theorizing about balance will not yield the intended results. So, like, you can theorize about balancing this as long as you want, but you will not figure out if this works or not. The thing is, we have vast knowledge over the current state. Like, we know what Generals 0 Hour 1.04 plays like and what is good and what is bad. Like, so for example, we know the USA Sentry Drone sucks. No one uses it. We know that China faction is inferior and loses a lot of matches, right? There is data to support these kinds of things. And it's observable. Like in World Series tournament, you never see a sentry drone being built. Maybe for troll. Yeah. Right. So there are there's a definite evidence for certain things. The thing is, I think discussing controversial changes, definitely there's a lot of value to like try to find something that could work, right? And then implement it and then test it and then see how it plays, right? The vision that I personally had for controversial changes that affect game state was try to come up with things that seem to be reasonable on paper, right? That have a rationale, that seem to solve a problem, right? Implement this, make a nice write-up, document it, and put it there. And really think hard about it. Does it have a purpose or not, right? And have it there. And then once you accumulate once you build up a nice state of changes where you say, okay, I think we have addressed all the pain points that 0 Hour players have with the balance in the original experience. We seem to have addressed. Like, we have made China stronger, we have made maybe this thing weaker, we have fixed this and that, right? They just then say, okay, we have like a state which seems to be reasonable, let's give it a shot, let's see how this thing plays. And then you play this thing, and then you realize, oh, this has changed, and poof, this is not so good. Let's go back to how it was originally. Or maybe you say this other thing, oof, this is not going far enough. It's still shit. No one will use this, right? Like a sentry drone, let's say, right? So, I mean, you could do this like for each kind of little change in isolation, but then you just keep testing forever, right? If you just build incrementally on top of the status quo, and you just like change one thing and then another thing and you test it, then you cannot really evaluate if it works well together with all the other changes that would be there, right? You only test it within the context of the status quo that you know needs some work or needs more fixes, right? So I think it's important to like fix all the bugs or the gameplay bugs, right? Have a state that that you think is acceptable, then do all the balance changes that you think are reasonable, and then test that thing and figure out, okay, is it good or not? If it's not good, revisit, figure out what is not good, and then dial back or revert to original, right? But it needs testing. At the end of the day, only the testing can figure out if players enjoy it. And my thinking here was that, yeah, we get it to like that we build it to a state where it seems like a good foundation, and then we figure out if it's a good foundation or not. If it's not, then we keep on tweaking and figure out like how do we make it better. And then long term, I would like to have like really, I already mentioned this, I would like to have like survey system in game, like that the game asks you a question. Hey, I think I mentioned this in previous video, that the game asks you about the new your unit setup or whatever. Do you like it or not? And then player gives feedback, and then we get like feedback from every player. I'm a bit skeptical about this. Here's the thing. I think there's wisdom from all players. I mean, there's value in this. What Dominator mentioned in this 15-player expert player council, because this gives like the real like the in-depth knowledge of things at a really high level. But I think it's also important to cater to everyone and give every player a voice if he likes to give his voice, right? So I think it should not just be the expert players that make the final decisions. I think that they probably get it into like a good direction, but in the end, like if the majority of the players, for example, are very unhappy with the Aurora, for example, and they keep on banning the Aurora in most of the matches, yeah, because it's too strong and they hate it, then there is a good reason to look at the Aurora and to try do something with it to make it not bannable, right? Where players say, hey, the Aurora is still good, but it's not unstoppable anymore, no longer needs to be banned. I think this in turn also makes the Aurora a better unit if it's not banned, because then players can actually use it. And also it leads, like, the thing is, if you get more things off the banned list, like demo bikes and Auroras, and maybe even super weapons, but there's a checkbox for this already to ban super weapons in the game room settings. But if you get those bannable units, demo bikes, Auroras, if you get these off the banning list, you also increase health of multiplayer in turn, because there's always a big contention over rule break. If someone builds a bikes or someone builds Auroras and they break the rules, then players will be upset and there will be flaming and not so happy players. So if you get these off, you also increase health, community health. It's a nice side effect. So not just balance, but health. And yeah, so yeah, I think it's really important to look at like the rationales, like what do you want to achieve? What is the status quo? Is it reasonable to touch this thing? And yeah, then just test it. And I would also say I would like to ask players to not fight developers on things. So my mantra has always been, let's try this thing, let's explore this, put it there for players to test, but let's not fight changes before we have looked at them, because I don't like this idea. Let's not fight this. Let's try to look at it with an open mind and figure and get some proof that this is not a good idea, because maybe it is a good idea, right? I mean, I probably also have biases where I say, this is not a good idea, but that shouldn't stop anyone else from making a change and giving it a shot and proving that it's good, and then have players try it out and then see if it's if they like it, and maybe they like it, So I wouldn't say that any single person has all the wisdom, They're probably players and developers who have more experience than others, right? Than some newcomer noob who doesn't know much about it, right? Would have less experience, obviously. But yeah, there is great value in trying out things, and that's what I've always pushed for, and I probably will still push for. And I have actually one more idea as well for the controversial topic, which I can probably touch on in another video. There are ways to even make this stuff less controversial by applying some strategies. I have multiple strategies regarding some controversial topics, and I think we'll figure out nice solutions for problems. We just need to like be honest and discuss with an open mind and just try to find the best solution. Like I think at the end of the day, the player feedback is always king. Like if players play this, but they need to play it. They cannot just theorize. They need to play it. If they play it and they say it's shit, and the majority of players think that way, then I think it's shit, right? It's proven. Like if the majority of the players don't like something, then there is ample evidence that it's not going into the right direction, and then that can be addressed again. But you know, it's not a problem. Like we can make mistakes during development, but we can always go back. We can always dial back. So for me, it's not a problem. Like there's nothing set in stone really. You can always improve things. Just be open and just seek the dialogue for honest and good feedback. And I'm pretty sure developers will listen to it. It's important to just like give really good reasons and to like give it a shot and test it, right? That's the most important. I think for this we need to probably improve our build and testing pipeline. Right now we have never actually put a test build anywhere. It's all on GitHub, but you have to like clone the repository. You have to build it yourself, which just means you need to run like a bat file and then it just builds it, which is easy to do. But certainly there is big value in balancing. There are bug fixes that will inevitably affect balancing. So these things need to be sorted, and I think it's important to allow fixes that affect balance, because you want to have a good foundation. If you bank on bugs for the sake of balance, that means there is a design problem in your game. I'm convinced if you count on bugs for balance, it's hard. Yeah. So yeah, and I think most players will probably take issues with all sorts of bugs. So that's why I think having surveys will give a clear answer to many questions. Like really wide scale surveys in the game where players can experience the things. That would be amazing. But yeah, that's also long-term goal. I think for short term, I think we will talk about these things. For short term, I think it's mostly short term, we need to get all the build pipelines done, get it to a state where everyone can test it, or developers can easily build, that we get all the tooling to build all the data. Like we're still missing tooling for a W3D to XML files. We still don't have a plain text format for AI scripts. We could probably want a plain text for maps. I'm not so sure, but yeah, we need it for AI scripts. We need it for models. There's probably more tooling needed. I know that we need to make some more additions to game text compiler. So tooling and of course the game itself, game codes. There need to be a lot of foundational work to be done. So there's still we are just at the start in many regards. But regarding balance, there have been already many efforts being done, so there is already something. There have been some thoughts put for various topics already, and I know in the past it caused controversial discussions, but or heated debates, let's say. I mean, they're all controversial. That's why we label them as such. But yeah, it's a matter of figuring out what works best, what doesn't work. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, let's keep on watching.
So from all the news, definitely I think the General's 0 hour source code being released is the biggest thing to note. And this means that Zezon's project, where he was reverse engineering the game code through Project Time, does come to an end. So I believe he spent a good 5 solid months on that. But you could also look at it that he was going to spend many more years on that. And now that project is just done. He has the original game code. So I saw his reaction on his channel where he cried or almost cried when this got released. He didn't believe it, and it was absolutely amazing for him, just as it is for everyone else. One thing to mention here that I know some people will already be thinking about and already be worried about is potential bad actors and people who wish to cheat now that they have access to the game's code. However, this topic did come up in our 5-hour Discord call last night with CC Hyper, and he mentioned that to combat this, some of the libraries have been removed from the game code. So obviously, I'm not a programmer. I don't know entirely what this means, but apparently it's going to be really hard for a potential bad actor or cheater to rebuild those libraries and then ultimately use it for cheating. But there are also maybe anti-cheat strategies we can put in place. So if you do notice in the future, in the years to come or the months to come, anyone cheating, we can report it back to Zezon, maybe CC Hyper, and we can come up with anti-cheat strategies that we can put in place to prevent this from happening. So next, I want to...
Yeah, anti-cheat is a big topic. Absolutely. So my expectation is that within the next days, there will be a buildable version public by Omniblade, by us, and many others. There are multiple people right now who, well, actually, Omniblade, I already touched on it earlier this video. Omniblade actually already made it compile, so it's already working. I think it's not, maybe it cannot join online lobby. I'm not sure. Maybe there are some things that don't work quite right yet with the stub libraries. But yeah, I expect that it works and people will be able to self-compile it. It will be absolutely multiplayer compatible with a 1.04 and 1.05. And bad actors will be able to build cheats. I think for the short term, there is nothing we can do really about it. I mean, we have Gentool, so we can you can maybe see lock under fog in the replay, and yeah, the screenshot upload will work. And the screenshot upload, the upload will say if this is an unrecognized version, right? So like we still have anti-cheat, right? In that regard, manual anti-cheat. But yeah, like someone could build new map packs and stuff like this, right? Is this a big worry? Probably not. Maybe. I guess like community should just like get rid of these bad actors. I don't know, by just not joining the matches. Yeah. That's usually the best approach. Just don't interact with bad actors. That's it. Long term, we certainly need to explore technical solutions. This will probably be difficult. So basically, maybe I just touch on shortly. We need to somehow implement strategies that a publisher of a self-compiled build or multiple builds, like for different platforms, has the ability to sign it or compile it against a private key that only he owns or that they own, and that is then compiled in a way that it is incompatible, multiplayer incompatible with other executables from this game. And that it would be really hard for an attacker to get it compatible, right? So that the network layer itself is mutated in a way that it becomes really hard to make it work with the other games. Now, obviously, attacker could try to replace it and route it to the original. Yeah, that's, the attack vector would be that then, yeah. Yeah, well, let me not go into too much detail how it could be attacked, but yeah, that could be attacked. So, yeah, there are probably ways to do it, but there are probably also ways to circumvent these kind of things. So, yeah, it's something we need to think about. I mean, it's a problem. It's like open source, and how do you do it? We need to have some strong way to do this. Yeah, I don't know yet. There are probably some naive approaches that can be done that, you know, an attacker cannot circumvent, but like it needs to be done in a way that an attacker, a hacker, cannot easily circumvent by doing some tricks with the executable, right? So yeah, it needs some good thought. Okay, let's keep on watching.
Mentioned the patch 1.05, which has been pushed to Steam and the EA app versions of the game. From speaking to CC Hyper, this patch now implements full Steam Workshop support for Steam versions of the game. To support this, it also adds a custom mission button to the main game menu to support custom missions when you add them from the Steam Workshop. The patch also fixes some random oddities in the code, which could help reduce the chance of random crashes. At the time of recording this video, I actually haven't installed the new patch, as I believe it does cause issues with the current version of Gentle, which I think Zazon is working on probably right now as a priority. But I do think if you give it a few more days, I think all of this should end up working out together, and there probably will be a new version of Gentle. Also, it's very important to note that apparently 1.04 and 1.05 versions do work together just fine without any mismatches. This is what CC Hyper said. Of course, this does need further testing, so if you notice any issues with maybe recurring mismatches or significantly more mismatches, then of course report it and let us know down in the comments. Okay.
I'm actually currently not working on Gentoo, but I did send CC Hyper some information, and if you can help me adapt that to the new executable that he has compiled, then maybe it will be easy to adapt it to the new executable. So I'm just waiting on CC Hyper right now. I'm taking the lazy route. Otherwise, it would be quite a bit of work for me. So yeah, I mean, for now, you can just use 1.04. That, I think, as far as I'm aware, there is nothing, apart from the Steam shop, there's nothing major in 1.05 in regards to the multiplayer experience. So should be just fine, right? Or otherwise, you just not use Gentoo. I think Gentoo loads still with 1.05, I expect, but in reduced feature mode. So some of the things that require binary compatibility are not enabled. But I think upload mode still works, and some of the window cursor related features work. Yeah, so some limited features work. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess it would be good to upgrade it at some point. Yeah.
Okay, so next let's talk about the old archive footage that has been posted on the official Command & Conquer YouTube channel. Here you can find extremely early testing of the game's engine, so the Sage engine, from around 2001 time, I believe. You'll notice it looks significantly different to how the game looks today, and even all of the units are different. And so from what I understand from looking at this footage, at times they were testing the engine with other models from other games. It's really interesting to see, and it shows just what it was like in the very early days. Within this video, you'll also find archived footage from Renegade, so some of you may wish to check that out as well. But if you want to look just at the Zero stuff, you can find it on their YouTube channel, which I'll leave a link to in the description. And if you look around the 3 to 11 minute mark, plus a few other marks, I'll leave the timestamps below. You can find all the Zero footage. It is mixed with the Renegade stuff. So as I mentioned, Steam Workshop now works for General's Zero Hour, and if you are interested in the other games, then it also now works for CNC Renegade, CNC 3 Tiberium Wars and Kane's Wrath, Red Alert 3 and Uprising, and also CNC 4 Tiberium Twilight. Personally, I don't really use the Steam Workshop that much. I have on maybe 1 or 2 games in the past, but I do know that it can make it very easy for people to install things like new maps. So that's exactly what it is going to do for General's Zero Hour. The mission editor, the world builder, have received updates so that people can publish their maps directly from there to the Steam Workshop. And what I'm hoping for is that this generates a wave of mappers creating new and amazing maps, thinking like 1v1 maps, team game maps, art of defenses. So I'll be keeping an eye on that section going forward and seeing what wacky and wonderful stuff appears. So to top that off, EA have also released this.
By the way, I just want to mention, since he mentioned like Sime development, he mentioned this earlier here somewhere. Where was it? Somewhere he mentioned Sime project here. So Sime was in development for 8 years altogether, on and off. Like not everyone working full time 8 years, but like it started 8 years ago. And the biggest contributors definitely have been Omniblade, Thompson's 26, and Johnville. I spent also some time recently, especially last 5 months. I spent every day many hours, and before that I did some small things here and there, and code reviews for Johnville. All the work is obsolete, but I think there have been a lot of learnings. I enjoyed the work that we have done. It built a nice collaboration with the guys, and I think it was a nice time. I think Sime had the best intentions and the best goals. It basically had the goal of exactly what we have now. Well, actually, not quite, because I think the original source code certainly is much better than what we ever could have achieved with the Sime project, because it also contains all the tools and all the debug functionality and all the original developer comments to maybe explain some things, and of course it's like the true truth, right? So there is no risk that we run into any issues that we would have introduced into Sime. Even though we had developed strategies, especially recently, to improve our stability and correctness, but yeah, that's now all obsolete. I dropped it immediately when I saw the announcement. Just a minute before the announcement, or a minute before I saw the announcement, I was still working on code towards this goal. But yeah, the minute I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes, and it was clear for me, well, this is done. This is done. And I think that's good. It saved us many years going forward, and it has saved us many, well, it has cost us many years in the past, but yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. Sometimes you spend time with something that doesn't yield any result, but the bigger picture here is that eventually we will get something great out the door, right? And there's no need to rush anything. I think community will enjoy the game for years to come, and there will be some point where we will have a great release, and then hopefully many more great releases afterwards. I think pushing towards the first big release, that will be the hardest of all. That will be the hardest, the most work. But once we get to a state where we have the release, all the tools for building, for publishing, for distribution, for the servers, everything is in place and everything is running, then I think it will be a really enjoyable time, because everyone can enjoy their work, and then we can focus on building, some nice new things and tweak some things here and there as we move along and explore more things and gain more experience with our own creations, right? I mean, it's all a process where we have to evolve and just keep on iterating. The thing is probably never really done, right? So yeah, we just keep iterating and make the thing better and try to make the right choices in the long term, right? As I said previously, in the short term, we probably make some not so good decisions, but yeah, that's just natural in development. You make some good decisions, some bad decisions. Sometimes you just need to try it out and see what works and what doesn't work, right? That's how the lightning bulb was invented. Just try and error, see how it works, and what doesn't work, right? Yeah. Okay, let's keep on watching.
CNC modding support pack, which includes source XML, schema, script, shader, and map files for all of the games that use the Sage engine. People have apparently been asking for this for 15 years, and now it's finally happened. You can find this support pack at the EA GitHub page, which I'll link to you in the description. So yeah, definitely last night was a night I didn't expect. It was a really weird night, staying up for 5 hours or over 5 hours on a Discord voice chat, listening to a bunch of guys chat about 0 Hour until 2:30 in the morning, listening to CC Hyper answering loads of questions from the community, which is really amazing, really an experience in itself. He mentioned about how he started working back with EA in 2019, how he's a contractor now, he's not indefinitely with EA, but he does hope to continue to work with them, and that he's a community veteran and he's been a huge fan of the games for many, many years. And his whole goal was to basically try and get the franchise back to where it should be. So I did hear some further detail, like how Hyper has basically sat as an attachment to the commercial team at EA. He's directly worked with Jim, who's a close friend of his, and he explained that EA ultimately is a publicly traded company, and anything that they do has to make commercial sense and ultimately generate money, just as any other business. We talked about how purchasing the game over on Steam, where you can currently get 70% off for all of the Command & Conquer games, which means you can get all of the games for like $6, which is really, really insane when you think about it. That's probably the best way that you can support the franchise, support EA, and then who knows what the future might hold if we get the numbers right up.
I agree with that. I think EA absolutely deserves recognition and praise for this. So if you already have a CD copy of the game or DVD copy, and maybe consider it a donation to just buy the Steam version for 0 Hour, install it. If it's, I'm not sure if it's sold as a bundle, all the games in the Ultimate Collection as a bundle, then I would say you buy the bundle and then you install 0 Hour to show that you bought it for 0 Hour to give the credits to 0 Hour or Generals, right? For that matter. Yeah, I would consider this just like to give EA praise and credits for this move. I think it is remarkable, and EA deserves any kind of. Yeah, I would certainly support if everyone just buys a copy, even if they already own the game by other means. Yeah, I think that would be cool to just show that the 0 Hour community is there, and they love the game, and they like to support EA with their recent decisions to do good for the community. Yeah. Yeah, let's keep on watching.
For the random topics that came up that I'll share with you here now were the release of the 2 missing boss generals. Someone basically asked this as a question. It's really amazing how he just answered 5 hours of questions, by the way. He sat there with about 3 or 4 beers just answering questions from myself and from other community people. And yeah, the topic of 2 boss generals came up. So you'll know inside of the game, you've got the China one that got released, the General Ling, and that is actually in the game. But General Ironside, which is the US one, and the General Deathstrike, which is the GLA one, they're inside of the game files, but they never actually made it to final release. I don't know if they got rushed or for whatever reason. So someone was basically asking, could we ever get them back? Could they get released? But CC Hyper did mention there could be issues such as the voice lines may have royalties to be paid to the actors if they did get released, and then that would cost EA money. They'd be paying out to try and release those. So unlikely that might happen, but it's just a fun little fact there for you. One other topic did get mentioned, which was Tempest Rising, which is another RTS that's about to get released. There's a lot of hype around it. It's a bit like Command & Conquer. And yeah, it got mentioned, and CC Hyper said that he actually was involved with it back in the day, and he actually created the logo for Tempest Rising. And he also came up with a poster design for it as well. So when you have a look at the Tempest Rising poster, it's actually got a bit of a Generals and Command and Conquer feel to it. And now when you look at it, you can really see the resemblance. I thought that was a little interesting fact there for you. So going forward, I do plan to do a podcast style live stream on my channel. So I'm thinking about getting the likes of people like Zezon. Maybe CC Hyper would agree to it. Maybe Legionnaire. Yeah, who would have guessed Legionnaire on the channel? To discuss realistic possibilities for the game and to get an idea of timelines. Because I know everyone, including myself, will now be like, oh, how fast are we going to be able to fix mismatches? How fast are we going to be able to get the ping down for everyone, or install servers, or get quick match back? There's going to be so many questions, including from myself as well, but also from viewers. So yeah, I'm hoping to do that on the channel, and we'll make it with a 0 delay, and you can ask questions, and we'll try to answer everything in the chat. So yeah, watch this space. It could be as early as Sunday. So this Sunday around 1 p.m. GMT. So yeah, watch this space. It's still to be fully arranged. So that.
Okay, I didn't know it would be live podcast, but yeah, okay. So he said like timelines and expected timelines for things. Yeah, this is always hard. I mean, things take time, and they are done when they're done. I mean, if we want to talk deadlines and stuff like this, then we need actual project managers, like a team that somehow manages deliverables. It's like typically what would happen is you have a main branch, and then you have like a release branch or release candidate branch, which you then prepare for the next release, right? Then maybe you stabilize it if it needs stabilizing, and then that would be pushed out as a new version. We don't have any of this kind of infrastructure right now. It would be hard. I would not like to focus on these things, but if someone else has the time and knows how to organize this well, I think that would be really valuable. Yeah, because personally, I would just like to work towards main development goals and implement things, but I don't want to worry too much about the release pipeline and releasing things. This should be managed by someone who is closer to community and wants to organize playtests and things like this, or releases or something. I mean, yeah, we need people. I think there's real value in someone or multiple people doing things towards a release pipeline, like how this should be done. And yeah, it's a big topic. I don't know. Like historically, I've been working on game patch, super patch since more than 3 years, and we never had a release because it never was one of my priorities to make a release. But that's me, because right now I mostly care about building the stuff, right? I'm not so concerned about players use it right now. I guess there's value in this, but the thing is, I just have so much stuff still to do and on my plate that there's not much that I can do with this right now, right? I mean, there is of course the big topic of what I mentioned earlier was balance changes, tweaking this. But even for that, it feels a bit too early. But I think there could be value, yeah. But what my initial plan was that we get more of the balancing things right to build the foundation, and then we push out the first testable version. But maybe it's already a good time for that. Well, maybe we want to strip down the controversial changes. So, like, there are different ways and different strategies, but yeah, maybe someone else can plan and worry about these things. I would like to concentrate more on core development. There's just there really are a lot of disciplines in this kind of development. This is not something that one person can do perfectly well alone. Like there's a lot of stuff coming together. And to have people focus on a specific domain, I think that's really good, because then they gain the domain knowledge and they can focus on a specific field, and they don't need to like move from one thing to the other, which is just a distraction, or and really slows down to just work on all these different kind of things, right? Yeah. So yeah, I hope that there will be planning by someone. Good.
That brings me to the end. All in all, yesterday was one of the most amazing days, maybe you could say, in my life. I don't know if that sounds sad or not. A big part of my life is gaming. I've been playing games since I was very, very young. And 0 Hour, so I've been making videos over on YouTube since 2015. So we're like 10 years in now. So yeah, honestly, it was one of the most amazing days. I do look forward to seeing where the game can go from here. And who knows, maybe in the future, I'll see you in a 64-player battle royale with an amazing ping sooner rather than later. So GG, and thanks for listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was a remarkable. It was a remarkable day for me as well. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, probably one of the best days, the best day for 0 Hour since its release, probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, will there be ever a bigger event than this? Sure. I mean, if we have like maybe a really big release, like our first major release to an absolutely masterpiece of a game, then maybe that could be another huge event. But to me, it looks like that we maybe go for more incremental works, right? So it's probably a process where it slowly moves into community flow and player base, right? Could be like that. I don't know. It's for other people to figure out how to do that. Yeah. For distribution, I think it's important that we get the tool for the distribution and the in-game functionality for it. I think that's really, really important. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really accessible for new players who have no idea how to do anything with Windows, right? It just works. No bugs. No bugs, please. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit strange. Like nowadays, it feels like all software has some sort of bug, right? And that's especially true for 0 Hour. There's so many bugs. Yeah. And but yeah, it's hard to implement things without bugs if you don't test it carefully enough, or if you have time pressure. Then that's another reason. I think 0 Hour was a very rushed game. They had to crunch real hard, and they didn't have enough time to do all the things properly, so they had to cut a lot of things, and they probably had to take a lot of shortcuts for release. And yeah, this is then what you get. You get some smaller and also some bigger bugs that then the players have to endure for 20 years, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it was a good summary here by Dominator. Good presentation. Touched on many things, and yeah, there are many different topics. I probably will have a PR tool tomorrow then, with a podcast and with a voice chat, whatever that will be, the team meeting. Yeah, I hope next days we can figure out a bit like how we want to organize the new repository, the contribution rules, the first steps. I mean, getting to compile, getting it to run, getting it into Visual Studio 2022 would be nice. What to do with Windows XP compatibility, yeah. What to do with the file. I've already seen some people already changed. I think I've seen it. I probably don't have it open right now. I saw that some people already changed the structure of this, like they renamed, for example, Generals MD to Generals 0 Hour, or they stripped Generals away completely. Yeah, so decisions like this, I think this needs to be very carefully planned, and there need to be very good reason if we want to make any fundamental changes to the core structure, because it will make integrations harder, merges harder across repositories if we make fundamental changes. Good. Yeah, then I hope you enjoyed the session. It was close to 2 hours. We touched on some topics. We looked at some things. I hope you enjoyed. I will take a break here. We got some spams here again. I will look at this later. Yeah. Good. Then yeah, I will take a break and continue next session. Yeah. Have a good day. Enjoy your day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.